Welcome to Biogas TV Live, Season 2, Episode 3, and happy snow day. As we say, this is the best half hour of your week. This is the world's greatest live streaming TV show for the biogas industry. I'm Paul Green. I run a biogas advisory business. Today I'm here with my co-host Alex McFarland of RNG Connect. It's our pleasure to welcome back Bernie Sheff, Chairman of the American Biogas Council, for part 2 of our conversation today on the dairy RNG business. Dairy RNG business effectively 10x'd itself and went from a tiny handful of companies over the past 10 years to a high of my last count of 24 companies that are exclusively focused on dairy RNG. I keep a couple of interesting lists like this on my website, green-tech.com. Check it out. There's a directory there and list of developers. So it's been quite a ride. The gold rush hit hard in 2018 when LCFS was $220. Since then, the market has sobered to seeing prices in the 60 range and the credit bank being quite full. We've seen gas utilities come into the space whose requirement on returns are more modest than some of the PE companies that have come into the space. So with that, Bernie, happy snow day. Welcome back to Biogas TV. How much you getting in Eaton Rapids?
No, we didn't get a lot. It's just been I call it don't make us mistake cold. I was hauling with a tractor. I was hauling seed feed down for my wild turkeys, and it's that kind of cold where when you do something stupid and take a glove off and touch something steel, those kind of things. You don't. This isn't a time to make stupid decisions in the out away from the house where things can go badly. So,
Yeah.
Lick a flagpole.
pardon?
Don't lick a flagpole.
I was going to do that, and I just thought I would do, but then something, the better angel inside me said, "Hey, you know what? I saw a picture of that once." So, yeah.
Good.
But
So before we get going, I'm going to introduce Patrick Keeley, today's sponsor from Century. How you doing, Patrick?
Doing great. Thanks, Paul. Great to be here.
Okay. Tell us the word.
The word, anyone who's looking to get more from an existing AD asset, then we're the partner. So if you want real-time VFA and you want to understand your digester performance in real time, then reach out to Sentry.
Nice. So VFA is what?
Oh, volatile fatty acids. So the food that's available for your bugs that are producing biogas. So we can tell you how much food is in your digester and then help you basically put more and more food in until you get to that limit, and then you can ease off.
You usually have your probe nearby. Do you have it? Do you have your little weapon? There it is.
Sure.
There it is. Patrick is the CEO and inventor. So this probe goes in your digester so you can know real time your online health. And sometimes we see projects that are a little cautious about pushing them too hard. So checking the VFA online.
Sometimes, Paul.
Okay. All right. You're going to give us a case study later that we can learn all about the benefits of the Century probe.
Love it. Thanks, Paul.
Good. All right. Well, welcome to Biogas TV, Patrick. Thank you for being today's sponsor. So Bernie, Alex, Drew, we've got certainly a lot happening in the dairy space. So it's maturing and softening. So, I'm hearing things like $30 an MMBTU to run a dairy RNG project. Alex, we're going to show the magic equation here as we go along, but I think if you add LCFS plus your RIN plus your value of your gas, maybe you're in the mid 50s per MMBTU for typical minus 250 CI. So the space continues. Mid 50s sure ain't 95 that it was back in the day, as they say. So, Bernie, you and I were together 18, 19, and we really saw low-hanging fruit back then. As the dairy, we've got this pecking order, right? You love scrapers, we don't love flushers so much. We love fiber bedders, we don't like sand so much. But that said, a lot of overexuberant developers out there, a lot of capital available to deploy. And so we're seeing some signs of some pain in the market, right? We heard USDA very recently put loan guarantees on pause. There was a number kicking around of 27% default rates on dairy projects. How do you want to take this, Bernie? You want to talk about technology first, or you want to kind of talk about?
I'll tell you a little bit about, so this is one of those things when the guy who's the chairman of the ABC, when he starts getting phone calls from our members saying, I had a project ready to sign and my 9,007 loan guarantee got put on hold on the loan guarantees. What do we do? And so, of course, I've spent a disproportionate part of last week and this week in trying to dig in, find out. We're trying to set up. I've got a meeting, or we're trying to finalize a meeting here with me to talk to some of the folks that were part and parcel of this. Really, one of the biggest things I've been trying to dig into is what this 27% is, what this 27% loan default is. And even talking to some folks, believe it or not, in the USDA, I'm getting a lot of crosstalk on where where the fault is, where the problem is. I've been told that it's really 4 projects representing 400 and some $million in projects, and it's really 4, and it's really based on a technology. Sand seems to be sand bedded, seems to be floating to the top on some of these, is being a problem. Maybe underestimation of the effort of sand separation, the fact that Shields Law and Stokes Law are non-negotiable. Maybe not taking that fully into account. And then I'm also hearing that there are a number of projects, a group of projects that were all written out at that $100 number you were quoting, so that we have a number of projects that have defaulted simply because, just like you said, you can't keep the doors open when it's costing you $30 an MMBTU to run it, and you're only making 50. How can you service debt, do everything else, and keep the doors open? So it's I'm hearing a little of both. I was maybe last week it was much more vociferous in that these were all technology that maybe shouldn't have been done, and I'm hearing a little bit more now that some of the jobs, several of them are really in the fact that they just were written out at a very high rate. So I can assure you this: the ABC and me personally. Because this is something that falls really outside of policy. I can't put Heather on this. I can't hand it off to I mean, this could be something that myself and maybe I think maybe Craig Freer might be doing some wrestling this thing to the ground, find out, get it, and then let's see what we can do to fix the situation and get these loan guarantees opened back up. So that's the play right now.
One thing in the letter or in the article on Waste Dive, maybe you can confirm this, but it referred to these as actually delinquent loans, that they were not actually failed as of yet. So and that the failure rate data is something you'd have to file a FOIA for. So can you confirm that, Bernie? Is that these are actually not delinquent, they're just delayed? Or excuse me, not defaulted, they're delinquent.
Well, yeah, the phone calls that I've been having are that they are delinquent.
They're delinquent, not defaulting, though.
Right.
They're not.
Not yet. They're not
yet.
in now. I have heard also that several of them, there was 2 bigger lenders that were involved, and they are working with folks now to get these into the workout group and get them taken care of. But they've not defaulted, but they are obviously they're delinquent.
And then so 27% is not on project number, it's on dollars loaned. So magnitude of projects as opposed to number of projects.
Right. So 100 and, you got $104 million project, for example. One of the ones I heard that was told about, a project that big that's 25% right there. And there's a
Yeah.
couple others that are quite big. So it's
It's the monster projects. The monster projects are struggling.
right, right. Well, and it's the
So
monsters.
the humble, modest sized projects are doing okay. The 4,000 cow farms are holding their own.
Well, yeah, or the projects that maybe weren't at the peak of it and were down more on the 60 and $70. They're able to hold on better here right now. So it's again, I've been shocked in my own in the last 5 days here of the differences of opinion I've been getting as to exactly why. What are the reasons that they are delinquent? So, and again, I do know that I have learned now that a number of these they have been pushed over into the by the banks, by the lending institutions, over into the workout groups to try and get them solved.
I mean, one thing I've seen, you tell me if you've seen this as well, Bernie, this sand question that we talk about, the sand concept doesn't look as stellar post startup as it does when you're getting into design. So I've seen what's probably tanks with a lot of sand in it and a compromised yield, which compromises your revenue. So on one hand, we got sand going into tanks, and then on the other hand, maybe the technology that we've been espousing doesn't work as well. Maybe you're using more parasitic gas to heat it, you're expending more because the hope of getting to 6, 7, 8% TS after sand separation, maybe we're not that high. Maybe we're less than that, using more gas to keep the systems warm. Like what in your travels, Bernie, what are you seeing on some of the sand projects as far
Yeah.
as what's working, what's struggling?
And I think before we started, I think was it Drew or Alex said we're gonna light the place on fire. What I'm seeing more than anything else, to just be flat honest here, is folks that maybe even were told the best we can do on average is 5.5, and you'll have good days up at 7%, and that's TS leaving the sand separation building going to the digester. That you might have a good day at 7%, which in the summer when it's warm, when your temperature induced viscosity, I know you were waiting for me to say that, Paul. When those things are working in your favor and you're doing well, and then you're going to have other days in the dead of winter, like it is when you're down in this don't make a mistake cold, less than zero, right? The manure is all tied up and it's holding that sand up. You got to put more water to it. And so those things are probably so that they've designed on a solids content that was unrealistic on an overall range. And to a great extent, I'm finding that, if I go back and look at paperwork, they were probably told that, but they also tried to take the optimistic side and say, well, we're going to run it really well. We're going to always get 7%. Well, that's just not possible. It's just to run like that. And it's just very tough. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that's the issue. And then once that happens, once volume starts to take away, detention time starts to deteriorate, right? Heating values go up, everything then starts to build on itself. Building with a clean out system obviously is going to make the most sense there. If you're going to push that envelope, well, then make a reason, get yourself something in place so that you can clean it out if you have to. But there's also another piece. It's trying to pump something that you maybe haven't done the best job of separating the sand from. Okay, so then once it stops, it's all great. Once it stops, sand settles, bang, now you got a filled pipe. Or trying to truck manure. And one day you run 10 trucks and the next day you run 13 trucks because, right, because it's thinner one day than the next, or, it goes back and forth dealing with all of those issues. So the sand separation, we are seeing that seems to be bubbling to the top. And I'm not going to throw any sand separator company under the bus. They all do a great job. I think that maybe it's just a mix of some misunderstandings and trying to be a little bit more aggressive on what the sand system could do from the design stage. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. You seeing any success with this robot that's out there on the market? The kind of looks like it's got like a snowblower auger on the front of it. This robot cleaner.
I like that system. I do.
Okay.
I think
does anybody have any experience with that one? I mean, it is a great idea, but when I've looked at, I mean, is it now active? Are those guys active now with active projects? And
yeah,
I don't know if it would be interesting to see, what the record looks like. When I looked into it a couple of years back, and they were kind of just getting started.
No, they've really.
Site. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Paulie.
No, I was just at a site in South Dakota that the end user felt it was a strong product and they were going to be putting future projects in that had the flange kind of ready to go. So it is a service business, right? It's not in place all the time. So this particular developer operator was like, yeah, we are going in this direction because it does seem to work. You just need to make sure if you get sand over your manway, you're kind of toast, right? But if you can mitigate it and get it addressed on a regular basis, then you can stay ahead of it.
Or if it runs into a bank of sand and then the sand falls on top. And why would I know that? So that's something to be concerned about. But Alex, yeah, I've been pretty impressed. I've been impressed. If you can't keep it out, then you got to take care of it when it's in there. So
eventually sediment accumulates in every digester, right? And the standard practice is, well, make sure you have more than a few digesters and make sure that you can get a bobcat in and out. That's kind of the European way. But here, of course, we want high uptime. We want the absolute minimum redundancy that makes sense for the economics for the project. So designing something like that in might make sense.
Yeah, I've been a bit of a what would be the term to use, an old curmudgeon, or maybe maybe somebody doing this with his hands and prayer beads. But I won't. If you ask me to do design work, process development, I won't do less than 2 tanks. I always want a second tank there. I mean, and keep them small, keep them highly mixable, keep them so I can keep moving that. I can get velocity on the bottom. Boy, I've been really impressed with the Landia mixers. Every place we put them, I'm making more gas. And I also
it's a gas mix, right? Is that a gas mixer?
Well, it's a mixed. It's a dual. It's both displacement.
I used to sell the Energia mixer, man.
So it's a both displacement and a buoyant jet mixing, and I wrote my master's thesis on buoyant jet mixing. So it's I'm finding good luck with that. I'm also getting good velocities on the bottom. I'm seeing some real positives. Not to say they're the only ones, and there's everybody. We have great members in the ABC with great mixing systems. I guess I've just found I've lately had some pretty good luck there. So I'm gonna keep going maybe gonna look at that. But no, smaller tanks, higher velocities. Look, the first day of engineering school, they teach you the way to mix is low volume, high horsepower. That's very first day, day one. And so keeping small, that way then if something does go wrong, you transfer over to the other 2 tanks, whatever it is, clean this one out and keep running. As opposed to being down. Well, single tank digesters are tough, especially in a sand bedded environment. Paul, you and I lost probably more jobs than we ever got when we were at Montrose together because I wouldn't go any other way. I wasn't going to use just one big tank. I wouldn't do it. And You can call me whatever you want, but that way at least I know I got a backup to fall to.
So maybe we can go back to USDA and say, listen, open up your loan program again, but just check for these things.
Well,
No more than
like we
5%
do.
TS on the design basis. You need 2 or more tanks, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, I would do that, but going back, I think the other thing, and I would say this is one of the other issues I've seen. And again, this is me being brought in these situations. One of the other issues I've seen is a dairy digester, any digester that is, but a dairy digester specifically, because this dairy, they're running one reason. They're running to have optimum milk production from those cows. This digester is secondary. They don't care about that. And therefore, you have to adapt to what they're sending you on a daily basis. If you design a system that is fail forward, my son came up with that term actually. He's like, Dad, you're always pushing stuff forward in the design. He says it's a fail forward system. Well, it is a fail forward system. You know, if you've overflowed here, go to the covered lagoon. Now you can still get the energy out of it. You can still reap, right? You get every bit of energy that's on that site as long as you constantly fail forward into something else. If you fail out of the system, the energy leaves. You never get it back. And our problem is our energy comes out the back of that cow. And if you dilute it, you got to digest all of it, right? You can't put a cube of sugar in a cup of coffee, pour half of it out, and get all the energy of the sugar still, right? You got to drink the whole cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You got to digest the whole thing, or you do lose that energy out of the system. So fail forward.
Good. So one other product I'm seeing with some traction to it, POC is making what they call a biocyclone. So it's a hydrocyclone with a controlled purge to minimize wasting rates. So another sand related product to take a look at. Alex, are you good? You were loaded for bear. You wanted to like come in hot with some. What do you got for
Well,
us?
I have yeah, I mean I do we don't have enough time to really
Okay.
dissect
All
this, but
right.
I would
All
just say
right.
to Bernie and the ABC folks, also in that waste dive article, they mentioned a letter sent to the USDA by a group of so-called agricultural and environmental organizations. And it's really very disappointing in terms of what they're saying. They say manure digesters are harming small farms, harming the environment and human health, causing water pollution, all of this stuff. It just
Yeah.
seems like we need a forceful point by point response. And also some of these organizations, they should be on our side, right? Like they're not all, some of these really should be on our side. So
We're Alex. All I can tell you is we're taking that thing on head on. We're dealing with it. I got both Melissa, and we're fully into it. I can also assure you that that had nothing to do with this. That was complete coincidence. They both happened at the same time, at least from what we're being told. That wasn't based on the other. That this was purely economic. So we're on it. I fully agree with you. We're fighting that down one point at a time. So I know that we're chewing up, and you got other stuff
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm with you,
So
buddy.
yeah. Thank you, Bernie, for your experience and your wisdom and your leadership on the ABC. Patrick Keeley, we're going to go back to our sponsor, and you've got a case study for us.
Sure. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, co-digestion, at least from when you're looking at the biology, like I'm a microbiologist, we're microbiologists at heart. We're looking at these digesters as systems that are powered and catalyzed by active biomass. From our perspective, co-digestion solves so many problems so much of the time if it's done right. We have, even going back to dairy clients, we have dairy clients that are in co-digestion, but as much as anything to protect digester health. So if you do have low loading, then you can complement it with co-digestion and make sure that your organic loading is actually more stable. In terms of the case study, or what I wanted to speak to today, was one of our first customers. When we first got into the US AD industry, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, we would go around asking people, are you looking to increase organic loading? Are you looking to increase biogas? And the answer almost all the time was no, we're not. No, we have designed criteria for the digester. We're not looking to increase loading at all. It started to change in California maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And the first client we had was a municipality, Central Marine Sanitation. And they came to us and said, no, we actually want to take our municipal digester and we want to 2x or 3x organic loading and biogas production from the existing asset. But to do that, what they needed was real-time VFA data. They needed to be confident that if they take these offsite organics, that they can increase loading and then increase biogas production. So we're 6 years into our journey with CMSA. They started with us in pilot reactors that they put on site. We're 4 years into monitoring their 2 full digesters on site. Last summer, they had 2x'd their loading and biogas production. And this year, they're targeting a 3x from the baseline. So I guess what I would like to communicate to the industry is that there are so many digesters in the US that are being underutilized. The assets are being underutilized. And if people want to, if they can manage their feedstocks appropriately, they can co-digest and we can get a lot more from these existing assets. And the data piece isn't something we have to worry about now. At least we have good data that can help us understand how that digester is performing and what those high level VFA limits are in real time. So that's our little part of the puzzle.
Got it. Got it. Okay. I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to let Melissa Bailey from the ABC greet us. Melissa, I've got you able to talk here. Did you want to share a little bit about the response to the Waste Dive article? Can
Oh
you?
yeah, hey Paul, thank you. So just I wanted to let everyone who's on know that we, and Patrick specifically, called Jacob Wallace at Waste Dive and had a nice, long, and fact-filled conversation with him about that piece. We explained why digesters are good investments for taxpayers. We did this with another reporter who called on the same issue. We debunked the idea that the pause on the funding was connected in any way to the petition from Food and Water Watch and that group. And also through our looking at our research into this and talking to finding out what we could from USDA, that there's probably 4 to 5 loans at most are in question, and that, in terms of defaults, it's not like this is a massive thing across the industry. So I just wanted to share with everyone that's
Thank you, Melissa.
You bet.
Appreciate that. Okay, we're going to wind down with our final piece, the offtake roundup with Drew Puchot, our offtake trader guru. So, Drew, what you got for us today?
Yeah, well, big news from Friday is, well, Thursday night, Friday is the New Mexico market has been, or New Mexico Environmental Board has adopted the clean transportation market that they had signed off on last year, and the target has been set for 2026 and 2027 of a 1.8% reduction, but that increases to, gosh, where are my notes? %20 by 2030 and 30% by 2040. New Mexico is obviously a much smaller market than California or even Oregon and Washington, but it'll be interesting to see this set to launch on April 1st. So we've got some exciting times whenever a new market comes into play, and especially when it's not a West Coast state. It would be interesting to see how this impacts the transportation market of products moving between, Texas and California as an example, because it is a fairly busy line. Some important dates to watch as well. We will be looking for California LCFS Q3 of 2025 data to be released on Friday. That's significant because it's the first data release under the new program And then there is the February 24th IRS public hearing on Section 45Z. We also hope to see an update from the EPA on the RVO by the end of this week. If not, we could be seeing a pushback on the compliance deadline. So, as we were kind of discussing at the beginning of the call or the show, nat gas prices have been skyrocketing due to the winter storm. I've been doing a little bit of chatting and research on this during the show, talking to a few experts, and will always be quick to say I am not the expert, but I am in my role because it's my job to kind of share information and insight that I'm seeing and see where we can plug puzzle pieces together. Henry Hub, balance of the month, Henry Hub has been trading $26 this morning. And that seems to be, it seems to be produced by some pipeline infrastructure that got frozen over the course of the weekend. Sounds like there may have been a larger water buildup in the pipes than was expected, caused some significant infrastructure issues down here in the Gulf Coast. There is a 10 BCF supply drop off that we've seen as demand has picked up about 18 BCF, according to BNEF, Bloomberg's energy terminal page.
Somebody will figure out a way to blame it on wind power.
ERCOT's, I was watching ERCOT's solar and wind production over the weekend as temperatures plummeted and they stayed pretty healthy. So hopefully not. But that often does seem to be the case, doesn't it? However, it's definitely a strong argument for biogas power, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how this plays out over the course of the year. Hopefully, not too much disruption to gas production from some of these plants, but definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking at either a fixed price or a index-based offtake for your brown gas as well. So happy to chat on those discussions. We've seen some interesting conversations on that part and how companies can kind of lay off some risk or try and take opportunity within some of these price swings with those negotiations. So it's always something we're happy to dig into the pros and cons of.
Cool. Good. Well, that's today's episode. Bernie, thank you again for joining us. We're grateful. Patrick Keeley, the website is centurywatertech.com. Is that right? SENTRY watertech.com. And check out Patrick's devices. Drew, thanks for your update. Alex, great to see you, buddy. So February is looking good for Biogas TV. We got Patrick Surface from the ABC is going to join us. We got several speakers going to talk more about Canadian CFR and great opportunities in Canada. So record crowd today, 101 guests. So thank you for your support, all you guests. So with that, have a great week, everyone.
Thank you. Strong call. Strong.
Thanks, buddy.